Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Spotlight presented by HazMat 101 Consultants. I'm your host, Bob Koshik with my good friend, John Bassi. How are you, my friend?
All right. Good to be on again. All
Yeah,
right.
it's like we haven't talked recently. Hmm. um, so I saw some pictures John had put out on social media about an interesting run he had involving a Tesla and some exposed batteries and whatnot. So before we get into it, John, tell us a little bit about yourself and your department.
Yeah. Like Bob said, my name is John Bassi. I'm the the current fire chief of Elizabeth Avenue Fire Company. We're centrally located between Philadelphia and New York City. We're actually about 5 to 10 minutes outside of New Brunswick, New Jersey, which is the home of Rutgers in the Big Ten. Um, we primarily cover uh, Interstate 287, about 2.5 miles of that. And our fire company covers about 21 square miles.
And you said you, besides having your hazmat team for your area, you're also part of a regional team, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. We are the primary agency backup team for Somerset County hazardous materials. And we also recently started in the last couple of years a Northwest Regional Task Force in the state of New Jersey. So that's made up of about 4 to 5 other counties.
Okay, great, great. So real quickly, we're gonna get right to the picks, but I want to. This is your hazmat truck, so just give us a real quick description of what you got there and how you guys respond.
Okay, so this is our primary rig. It's 2017, fairly new. It is actually a Type 2, or it falls in line with a Type 2 hazard material team. It has everything from identification capabilities to obviously the decons, offensive strategies, plethora of stuff. In that little area where like the little RV door is, in a little blank area, that's actually a resource area. So it's a small office essentially. Um, it's a 6-person rig, so 2 up front, 4 in the back. And this we have our older rig is smaller to this one. That's actually our support piece to this. So all the other stuff that doesn't fit on this now it lives on the smaller truck. Um,
Gotcha.
our hazmat team is actually comprised of the volunteers of the department. Um, and we're, along with Somerset County, we will primarily respond anywhere within Franklin Township. So that's about 49 square miles. And then we will respond within the county as the backup team, like I stated before, anywhere within Somerset County. That's about 250 square mile response area.
Hmm.
And then obviously a regional response if it's anything of significance throughout that like north to west region of New Jersey.
Gotcha. Oh, what's that? That's not sand you have right there, right? That's that cold,
Yeah,
wet stuff you guys call snow up there.
yeah, that's yeah, we don't see that quite often around here anymore. We actually had a snowless winter this
Wow.
past go around. So yeah.
Nice. Nice. All right, well, let's jump right into it. So, you guys had a interesting little fire, but quickly talk about this is the undercarriage of the vehicle where the battery cells are stored, right?
Yeah. So this is your typical makeup of a battery vehicle. So a lot of times people will call these like a skateboard design. Essentially, where the arrow is pointing is the battery pack. So the top side, it would be the passenger area. Sandwiched between that and a skid plate would be either individual cells or a like a pocket style battery. Mainly what we're all running into is individual cells that are actually linked together to make up this giant battery pack, and that's what's powering your vehicle.
Yeah, here's
So
a good
inside,
example of that right here.
yeah. So if you crack open that top layer, that's essentially what we're looking at here. So these are all individual cells linked together into modules, and the modules are linked into a larger battery pack itself. That's what makes your power that is powering your vehicle down the road now.
Yeah, I didn't realize how many individual little cells there were until I did some more research and looked at these pictures, and I was like, holy shit, there's it's a boatload.
Yeah. Yeah, that's yeah, I agree. I mean, staying inside that preview there, we ran into that problem with this fire. So I was actually the first arriving person on scene. Amazingly, I actually had a neighboring chief driving through the area on this. So he actually stopped by, like kind of like poked his head around the corner real quick and gave me a quick size up. He stated that the vehicle was off the roadway at the bend of the road. So this roadway has like a decent S bend in it.
Yeah, it looks like it's got a pretty tight little curve there.
Yeah. So when I was still responding, he gave me that quick size up. I was imagining that I had a motor vehicle fire off the roadway into a wooded, brushed area. And in my mind, like most of us do, we're kind of putting a plan together.
Right.
Once I did arrive, I did a quick size up of this vehicle just by the shape and style of the vehicle. I was able to figure out that this is most likely an electric vehicle,
right.
Tesla of sorts. Also, another big giveaway was how the fire was acting. So one thing that I learned from this was this doesn't act fire-wise. This does not act. Electric vehicle does not act like a normal vehicle fire when the battery pack is burning. The fire was itself. Best way I could describe it is it was angry. So it was under pressure that you kind of see from like a gas fire from like a natural gas or propane.
Right.
There were also distinct popping sounds,
Right.
which was indicating that it was the battery pack and the individual cells failing.
Okay. Yeah, somebody described it to me as like a whistling noise or something like that, especially as one of them went flying by him, the way he described it.
Excuse me. Yeah, so the easiest way to describe them is if everyone remembers like M80s, that's kind of what they sounded like.
Right.
When the struts and the tires were failing, we all know that it's kind of a deeper thump. These didn't. These had more of a cracking, like a quick crack sound.
Gotcha. So then when you guys got there, and this is another little view of it, and now you decided to let this burn, right?
Yeah. So after I completed my quick size up here, I kind of walked down the sidewalk area, which was across the street. And my first thing was I wanted to make sure that obviously there was nobody inside the vehicle or laying next to the vehicle. I quickly found out that the driver of the vehicle was self-extricated themselves. They were uninjured, and they were actually talking with PD a couple 100 feet away.
Right.
So once I figured that there was no life hazard here, my next plan was, okay, is there an exposure issue here? The only exposure we had was the wooded area.
Gotcha.
At that point, I was like, you know what? I think the better choice here would be to let it burn and let it consume itself.
Right.
The reasoning, obviously, we all seen the case studies and such of fighting a electric vehicle is very time consuming and very labor and water intensive.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when the electric vehicle companies are saying let it burn, you know, that's what we call a clue. You know.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Exactly.
And I know there's times you can't. We'll talk about that in a few minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. So at this point, we started letting it burn, and this is ultimately what was left.
Now, how long did it take to burn out?
So the best, I didn't obviously I didn't have a stopwatch.
Right.
But doing some quick math and everything like that from dispatch time, the on-scene time and such like that, my best estimate was between like 65 and 75 minutes.
So under an hour and a half, minimal amount of water, and you're basically done. Well,
Yeah.
except, you know, the overpacking stuff, which we'll talk about in just a minute.
Yeah. Besides the overpacking, fire-wise, it was essentially a mop-up after the 60 to the 75 minute mark. It was essentially just extinguishing the plastics, the foam,
Right.
whatever was left in the vehicle.
All the other real car stuff.
Yeah, exactly. All the other stuff. And you could also see, I mean, the brush fire aspect of this, the urban interface area of this, really didn't grow to anything, which was great.
Yeah, actually, you guys kept it right there.
Yeah, I actually had forestry come out.
Oh, good call.
And yeah, just
in case.
Just in case.
Yeah.
Yeah, just absolutely. In case.
So now this is the under part of the carriage there. Explain what we're looking at here.
Yeah. So once the tow truck operator was there on scene, we had him remove the vehicle from where it was obviously laying and pull that into the roadway. We then asked him to see if he could lift the vehicle for us, so myself and the HazMat chief can do essentially a damage assessment of the battery pack. What we found was kind of shocking to us. We didn't really expect to see what we found. Essentially, all the cells were completely released from the vehicle. And only so our estimate was probably there's only about 10 to 15% of the battery cells still left in the vehicle. The center section there that you kind of see, it looks like kind of like a cross member going from the nose of the vehicle to the rear of the vehicle. That is it's essentially that. It's a cross member. It's a support piece for the battery pack. That was left over. There were some cells that were sitting on top of that, and the other cells were kind of left in the areas of like the rocker panel and like the front of the vehicle, essentially.
Right. Yeah, and what we're seeing here is just a fraction of what we're about to see.
Yeah. This is when the HazMat chief and myself after a fire extinguisher and the tow operator was hooking up the vehicle and stuff. This kind of sparked our interest. We're like, okay, there's some battery cells out. Not a big deal. We'll handle them. We have overpack capabilities. No big deal.
And then you guys saw just how many you had.
Yeah, exactly. Once the vehicle was actually removed, we weren't expecting essentially the entire battery pack to have left its contents on the ground for us.
That's crazy. That picture blows my mind.
Yeah, it was. We quickly deduced that the overpack that I had on my vehicle was not gonna suffice. So the HazMat chief made the call to have a full HazMat response from Somerset County to come out and to bring their drums also. These are the blue drum you're seeing is actually a specialized drum designed for lithium ion batteries and cells. It's called a DDR drum. And essentially it's a steel drum with a liner inside of it filled with a product called cell block.
Okay.
That drum is vented to the atmosphere. However, it's designed to hold a certain amount, pound-wise, of lithium-ion batteries. And in the event that they do go into thermal runaway, it will keep all that energy and all that heat inside that drum and only release the gases out of that drum. So essentially you're not making a bomb, essentially.
Right. The pressurization from the gases and whatnot.
Yep. This gets tightened down like any other drum with the steel cap and everything like that. If you didn't know what you're looking at, you probably assume that it was just a little 15-gallon drum.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and that's a good point, that you need to make sure if you're going to overpack these things, that you use the proper equipment to do it. You just can't use any drum. So I encourage everybody to do your research and don't just try to cheap out, because that cheap out will come back and bite you in the butt. Yeah,
definitely. I've seen people talking about getting these commercially available items from various vendors and stuff like that. Those devices are actually more designed for a returned item to like an electronics store or something like that. A battery that's not damaged. Essentially, these devices are made for damaged batteries.
Yeah, and you mentioned that you guys weren't going to go pick through, the batteries to find out what was burned up and what wasn't. You just put them all in there, which is an absolutely great thing. Otherwise, you would have been there for days.
Yeah, exactly. This day, obviously the picture doesn't show it, but the day was about 95 degrees, 80% humidity. We were not
our Florida winter.
Yeah, basically. Up here, we're not used to that. So we were, we made the decision that we were going to treat every one of those battery cells as if they were still alive and they were still had a potential of a thermal runaway. So we just, you kind of see them there. We had the shovels and we just scooped away and filled up the drums.
The contractor came in, right?
Yeah, so Somerset County has a vendor that they're dealing with. They loaded this up on their rack truck and brought it back to their headquarters. They are in a secured area, away from any exposures, anything like that, and they're going to dispose of them properly with the vendor.
And that's something I got to encourage everybody to do. Reach out now. Don't wait till 3:00 in the morning. Figure out who you're going to call, when you're going to call, because, we called our local EPA people and they have no plan. Well, they didn't, and they might now. Some contractors will say they can handle it and they can't. So get the information now ahead of time and not 3 a.m. And the other thing too is, I'm not going to mention products, but there's a lot of products out there that, listen, if the electric vehicle companies are saying let it burn, let the damn thing burn. obviously, and this is where people, want to get in a fight with you. Oh, what if it's in a parking garage? What if it's in someone's, garage in a house? I get it. Not every run is the same. You have to approach it different ways. But there's a couple of things you can do. We saw a test, and I know you're going to mention here in a second, of where they used a blanket, the fire blanket, to put over the car just to smother it so they can move the car. Figure out what the plan is now. These devices that are out there. Again, I'm not going to pick on any one device, but there's a lot of stuff out there that, quite frankly, is just not going to work. And it's been my practice and my experience, I should say, that if a vendor ever came to the fire station and wanted to give us a meter or this XYZ piece of equipment, if they believe in it, they'll let you use it for a while. And firemen are going to put it to the test.
Yeah. Like you said, we talked offline before. I I have my team has a blanket, the fire blanket. Ours is the smaller 6x6 one. Um, and for us to do that scenario with in a parking garage or whatever like that, we kind of sat down and started discussing it. Manpower wise, or excuse me, staffing wise and everything like that. It, we're a fully volunteer organization, so for us to commit 3 to 4 to 5 people to deploy this blanket, versus using the hose, using the hose that we have as a protection line for these individuals, I rather utilize that time to hold the fire in check with my attack line,
Right.
formulate a plan how to remove the vehicle from the parking garage
Yep.
and get it outside to let it consume itself if need be.
Yeah.
Um, I would encourage everyone to before jumping into things,
Yeah.
sit down
Absolutely.
and figure it out.
And you'd be surprised. You can get a hold of junkyards or other places that have some of these EVs and whatever, and do some testing if they'll let you, try to figure some stuff out. But there's so many resources out there. There's so many Facebook pages. I mean, we're part of one for lithium ion batteries on Facebook. And there's a lot of good information. There's just a lot of things that people need to look at. It's out there. We need to be prepared and not just try to wing it, because that's never a good idea if you're trying to wing something, especially in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
That's that. Go ahead.
No, there's a lot of free resources out there now for lithium ion stuff. This is a problem that's not going away. So definitely get some training on it. Join Facebook groups, social media groups, things like that. Google things like, and try to find some classes in your area. Get ahead of it, like you said.
Yep.
If you have not had a electric vehicle or lithium ion fire in your jurisdiction, either it was not reported to you,
Right.
or it has not happened, or it hasn't happened yet, and it will.
Right.
So,
And even with the e-bikes and all these other things, there's people that are thinking, well, I'll just pry apart the casing and get to it. It's not that simple. There's certain things you
no.
need to do. I would encourage people to go to the FDNY site on YouTube and look up how they've done it. Also encourage people to check out, and let me go to the websites now and talk about it. But the HazMat guys, Bobby and Mike, retired HazMat 1 FDNY, they have an excellent battery class, operational level and technician level class for batteries. These are guys that did it, that were there 15, 20 plus a month. So I highly recommend you check out their battery classes. You can find more information on that on their website, thehazmatguys.com. And then the next one, the HazMat Guys Roundtable on YouTube. It's the first Tuesday of every month, 8 p.m. Eastern. Bobby and Mike, I just mentioned, myself and retired captain from Phoenix, Jeff Jay-Z Zyntech, do a live show, 8 p.m. Eastern, as I said. You can chime in, ask us questions, make fun of us, whatever, but we talk about all different types of hazmat incidents and discuss some interesting topics. So check that out. And then the last three are some HazMat Group Facebook pages. HazMat Group 2, I'm the admin of. We have over 9,000 people on there, which is great. I think it's the largest one on Facebook. HazMatter Group, I'm sorry, and Common Sense HazMat. So all great sites for you to get more information. John, where can they find you if somebody wants to get more information on your tactics, what you did, and whatever?
Yeah, so you can find us on the social media platforms at Elizabeth Avenue Volunteer Fire Company. You can reach out to me directly via email at jbassi, BASSI, at station26.com. And of course, our website is station26.com.
Awesome. Great. Thank you so much for joining our spotlight show. I appreciate it. Some good information. And we will see you guys next time. Stay safe out there.